You should start saving for your retirement as early as possible. And in fact, if you can start in your early 20s, then that's even better because it's going to give you a much longer time frame to actually start building wealth over the course of your life. But what happens if you have nothing saved for retirement? So I was reading an article and it stated that nearly 50%, so half of all American households have nothing saved for retirement. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that's an extremely scary stat. And what's even scarier than that is that there are people that are in their late 30s, going into their 40s, or in their 50s and above that have absolutely nothing saved for retirement. So what happens if you get to your 40s or into your 50s and you have nothing saved for retirement? What do you do? What's the plan? How do you get yourself on track? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be going over 9 things that you should focus on in order to get yourself on track to actually start having some savings for retirement. Make sure you stick around for the entire video because the 8th item that I'm going to be talking about today could potentially be the most important step in order to make sure that you get yourself on track financially. Now, the first thing that you need to do is take a deep breath and realize that you still have time. Acknowledge some of the financial decisions and choices that you've made over the course of your life and just put those behind you. Because as of today, you're going to be changing your mindset and your outlook on how you view money and how you view how you're going to set yourself up for your financial future, right? We all want to make sure that we get to that retirement age. And if Social Security is there, that's fine. But for someone like me that's in my mid 40s, I'm not banking on Social Security being there to support me whenever I'm no longer able to work. So we need to make sure that we are taking actionable steps now to set ourselves up to where we can retire comfortably. I mean, we've worked our entire lives, and now we need to make sure that we're setting ourselves up to where we can retire and we don't have to go and work at Walmart. We don't have to go and work at Home Depot or one of these other jobs, right? Because there's so many people out there that never planned for their retirement. And then once they get to retirement age, they find themselves having to stay in the workforce longer than they want to. So we're going to commit to making a change to our life as of this point forward, which is going to pay off dividends for us in the future. Now, the second thing that we need to do is we need to start taking a look at all of the debts that we have that are outstanding. So if we've got school loans, we've got credit card debt, we've got store charge card debt, we've got car payments, we've got hospital bills, anything that is a debt, we're going to put that down on a piece of paper and we're going to list those out from the largest to the smallest. And then we're going to also include an interest rate for each one of those debts. And what we're going to start focusing on is we're going to start focusing on those lower balances first. So I know a lot of people will typically say, hey, whenever you're trying to pay off debt, focus on the debts that have the highest interest rate so you can pay those off because it's costing you the most amount of money. But we're going to flip that a little bit in this scenario, and I'm going to tell you why. Right? So if you have a smaller balance, you want to start paying those off because those are going to give you those quick wins. And psychologically, I think that's going to be better for you in the long term whenever you start getting those quick wins. So if you've got a $3,000 balance on a credit card and you've got a $1,500 balance on a store charge card, you're going to knock out that $1,500 balance first, even if the interest rate is lower, because you're going to start to see those bills being paid off and you're going to get those quick wins. And while we're doing this, if you have any debts that are in collections, you want to make sure that you're calling each one of those debt collectors and you're having conversations about those debts. A lot of times, debt collectors will allow you to actually negotiate a total value that you have to pay off. So if you owe $5,000 and it's in collections, you may be able to get them to settle on $1,000 or $1,500 to actually pay off those debts. Do not underestimate the value of calling and negotiating for lowered payments on your debts, especially if they're in collections. Right? It's still going to be a mark against you on your credit report. But at this point, it doesn't matter because we're not worried about credit, right? Because paying off those debts are going to allow us to have much more of our monthly take-home pay available to invest for our financial futures. We've acknowledged that we have an issue and that we either have little or nothing saved for our retirement. And then we've also listed out what our liabilities are. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to get a budget into place. We need to know every single dollar that is coming into our household and every dollar that's actually going out. And if we don't, then that's a problem. So we're going to sit down and we're going to actually start putting together our budget. And the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to include our fixed cost, right? So our mortgages, utilities, food costs, gas, things of that nature. If you have a car payment, even though if you have a bunch of liabilities and have nothing saved for retirement, I don't think you should have a car payment, but that's neither here nor there. That needs to be listed on your budget. You need to know where every single dollar that comes into your household is going. Now, trust me, you do not want to skip this step, right? Because this is one of the most important steps throughout this process. Without having a budget in place, none of this works, because we've already proven that the method that we have been using over the course of our life is not working, right? If it was working, we would have money set aside for retirement. But that's okay, because as of today, we're changing things, right? We have a new way of looking at this, and now we're laser focused on the process at hand. So we're going to make sure that we're not going to skip this step. We're going to put our budget into place, and this is going to be our map, right? And I've often mentioned this in previous videos. You wouldn't just get in a car and drive to a destination that you've never been before. You're going to get in the car, you're going to put the address in the GPS, and it's going to take you to your destination. Think of our budget as our GPS. We're putting in our destination into our budget, and it's going to take us to where we want to go. The fourth thing that we're going to do is we're going to start educating ourselves about money. And this is a really important step because it's going to help us to make better financial decisions when it comes to investing. Now, I'm not someone that likes to sit down and read a bunch of books. I would rather use my audiobook subscription and actually listen to the books on tape while I'm either working out in the gym or I'm driving. Whatever preference you have, it's neither here nor there, whichever you would prefer. That I would go down that route. And some of the books that I would start out with is some of the greats that people talk about, which is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I also like The Millionaire Next Door. And my all-time favorite book right now is The Richest Man in Babylon. There are plenty of other books that you can actually start reading, but you just want to start understanding kind of how to start thinking about money. Right? Because we're changing our relationship with money. So we have to start thinking about money completely differently. And a lot of those books help you to understand that many people buy things that they don't even need to impress people that they don't even like. And it gets you to switch your mindset over to using money as a tool to actually get what you need as opposed to the things that you want. This is not something that you should skip in the process of getting yourself on track financially. I listen to about 15 to 20 audiobooks a year, and it has helped me so much in understanding finance and financial concepts. So this is something that you should also take advantage of as well. The fifth thing that we're going to focus on to ensure that we get ourselves on track financially for our retirement is by investing. And where I typically encourage people to get started is by investing in their company's 401k, especially if that company offers a match. And I like the 401k for several reasons, but the top two reasons are: the first, if your company gives you a match, that's a plus because that's free money that you get to take advantage of just by investing up to the match. And secondly, most 401k administrators, whether it be Fidelity, Charles Schwab, or one of the bigger brokerage houses that manage your company's 401k, will give you access to a lot of financial products, including access to financial advisors, where you can schedule calls with financial advisors and they can help you build out a plan to get to your retirement goals. Now, you can't rely solely on financial advisors, but it's a great place to get started. In addition to having access to a financial advisor, many of these brokerage houses offer online webinars and classes that help you to understand financial concepts. Things such as passive investing versus active investing and ETFs versus mutual funds. So you should definitely take advantage of everything that your company's 401k plan has to offer. But with that said, you're not limited to just investing in a 401k. If you want to invest in your own brokerage account, you can do that. Or if you want to open up an individual retirement account or an IRA, that is also an option for you as well. The main thing is you want to invest, and you want to invest as much as possible. So we talked about budgeting in the previous step, and that's going to play an extremely important part in how much you're able to invest on a monthly basis, especially once you start paying off some of those debts that you have, which is going to free up more money for you to put towards your investment. So I want to go over two scenarios of people investing from the ages 40 to 65, so 25 years. The first person is going to be investing $500 a month. The second person is going to be investing $1,000 a month. And we're going to assume a 10% year over year increase to our portfolio over the course of 25 years. All right, so we're going to assume that in each scenario that we're starting with $0, so nothing saved. And we're also going to assume that 10% year over year increase to our portfolio and $500 a month being contributed at the end of each month. So we're going to take a look and see what that looks like over the course of 25 years. So over the course of 25 years, assuming a 10% year over year increase in our portfolio, we can expect to have an ending balance of $616,662. We had a total contribution of $150,000, and with interest, our portfolio increased $466,662. So I'll scroll down here a little bit, and you can see how we're depositing that $6,000 every single year and how much we're getting. And as you can see, as we get closer to that 25th year, our portfolio starts to explode. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the exact same scenario, and we're going to be doing $1,000 every single month, and we're going to assume the same 10% year over year increase in our portfolio over a 25-year period. And again, we're just doing $1,000. It's contributing at the end of every single month, and our interest is compounded annually. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. So if we are 40 years old, we start with $0 and we invest $1,000 a month, assuming a 10% year over year increase to our portfolio, we can expect to have $1,233,324. And again, I'll scroll down here and you can take a look at what our portfolio starts to look like over the years. Over a 25-year period, you start to see it explode. That's how important investing is whenever you're able to take advantage of compound interest year after year over a long period of time. Now, I'll point out that the stock return averages a return of 8 to 12% every single year. There will be years when we do not even hit 8%. It could be, 0%. It could be negative. And there are years where it may be 20 or 25%. I was using 10% because the average is between 8 and 12, and I just took the middle number of 10%. So you could play around with the investment calculator. I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can go in and you can create your own scenarios of how much you're investing over a X amount of years and how much money you'll be able to get when you're ready to retire. The sixth thing that we're going to focus on in order to ensure that we are able to save money for our retirement is we're going to start cutting back on unnecessary expenses. Now, I talked about how a lot of us will go out and buy things that we don't even need to impress people that we don't even like. And, I think that happens much more than people realize. I mean, I fell into that trap for years, and I'm sure that you're no different from me, right? We've all experienced that. But as we've got our plan in place, we've got our budget in place, and we're investing and we're focusing, this is an area where we're just going to continue to try to trim away unnecessary expenses. So these are the cars, these are the boats, these are the unnecessary memberships that we don't even use. I know that there are some gyms out there that are a couple $100s a month. If you're using them, that's fine. But what I've learned is that most people that have gym memberships, they use them after the new year because of their New Year resolution, and then they no longer use it anymore. So we just want to be mindful in this step that we're cutting out any unnecessary expenses that do not contribute to our overall goal. Right? So right now we're laser focused on trying to figure out how can we put aside enough money to where we are going to feel comfortable that when we retire, that we may not be able to live a life of luxury, but we're going to be able to do the things that we want to do. We're not going to have to take that part-time job to supplement our income. We're not going to be worrying about Social Security and what's going on in Washington, D.C. while both parties are arguing about taking things away or adding things. We're taking all of those variables off the table, and we're controlling our own future and our own destiny here. But the biggest takeaway from this step is that the more unnecessary expenses that we can cut from our life, we can continue to add that to our investment portfolios, which will allow us to get to our investment destination much quicker. The seventh thing is increasing your income. Now, there are many different ways that you can increase your income, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to focus on two. The first is by learning a new skill or a new trade. Now, I have talked a lot about going to a junior college or a community college to earn a certification and earn a new trade. I think that's a fantastic option because it costs the least amount of money to learn a skill that has the potential to pay you a lot of money. The second way is that if you are at your current job for 4 to 5 years and you kind of feel like you kind of topped out, like you hit the ceiling, there's no more money that you can get from your current employer, then that's when it's time to dust off your resume and actually go out there and start applying for jobs that you qualify for. And what typically happens when you do this is that the new company is going to be willing to pay you a premium to come to their company. I've seen where people have been able to make 10, 15 to 20% more just by being willing to switch companies. Now, I know there are some intangibles that may be in play here, right? It could be some work-life balance. It could be, the ability to work remotely. There are definitely things that are out there that may be a reason of why you're staying at your current role. But what I will say is that if it comes down to just a dollars and cents thing, being able to go out there and market yourself on the open market and being willing to switch jobs is a way to make more money. Or you could also use that as a way to come back to your current employer to say, hey, I got an offer from company A. Are you willing to match that? Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. But if you're really looking to make additional income and you're actually ready to leave, because that company may tell you no, right? And you don't want to be in a position to where you're saying you're going to leave, but then you decide to stay. If you take that route, my suggestion is that you go ahead and you take that new role and you start earning that additional income. Now, the eighth thing that we're going to be focusing on in order to make sure that we're staying on track to build for our financial futures is that we have to have patience and trust the process, right? So I know there's a lot of things that we start and we quit halfway through it, right? We'll do something for 3 months and then we stop, whether that's a diet or it's working out or it's running or whatever it may be. Insert that hobby or that thing, and we typically just quit or give up if we're not seeing progress. And that's one thing that we cannot do when we're trying to plan for our financial futures. We have to trust the plan that we put in place, because the plan that we put in place is a proven plan. This is a plan that has been followed by millions and millions of people in order to reach their financial goals. So it absolutely works as long as you stick with it. So you have to make a commitment that you're going to change your lifestyle, you're going to change your mindset, and you're just going to focus on the task at hand. And if you are putting things in place the way that we've laid them out up to this point, you're going to be able to enjoy your life while simultaneously starting to actually have something set aside for your financial future. The ninth thing that we absolutely want to make sure that we're focusing on is maintaining our health. Now, I've heard many people in the past say that your wealth is tied to your health. And in my opinion, they're absolutely right. Because I can tell you, once I turned 40, things started to change. Things hurt a little bit more whenever I got out of bed. Things would just hurt just from walking down the hallway. I'm sure if you're in your 40s or your 50s, you can relate to that, right? So we just want to make sure that we are being very conscious of our health and we're taking care of ourselves, because we're putting in all of this work to make sure that we can enjoy our retirement. And we want to make sure we want to do that. And we want to be healthy while we're doing that. So guys, if you're in your late 30s, going into your 40s, or in your 50s and above, and you have nothing saved for retirement, These are the things that I would recommend that you start with just to get yourself started. Now, you may not follow what I laid out to the T, and that's completely fine. I wanted to give you a blueprint to get you started because right now you have little to nothing saved. And if you think about it, I know it's scary. I'm not in that boat and I think about it and it's scary to me. I want you to take this information, I want you to customize it to fit your needs and work the plan. So if you got some value from this video, consider subscribing. And while you're at it, hit a like for the algorithm. I would really appreciate it. And share this video with anyone that you think may find it helpful. So now that you know how to get yourself on track financially, and now you're looking to learn how to start investing, make sure you check out the next video.